Hello and welcome to yet another video, and in this video it is something very different than usual and also somewhat exciting, at least for me, because I'm doing another episode of budget photography. And in this video it's going to be this image that I'm actually going to be creating, and also I'll be using this gear, which is pretty much under 50 euros setup, which is great. Under, pretty much on a budget side of things. It's the Canon EOS 30D with the 18 to 55mm lens, and of course the wireless transmitter and receiver are also pretty much for free when I got them, because they looked broken and therefore I got them for free. And at first I thought I could fix them, but just by buying new batteries apparently just kind of fixed them. So I have, working receivers and transmitter. And also this flash, it looks like, more modern Canon flash, but it's actually an ancient one here. So I also got this one for free because, well, the previous owner didn't use it and it's too old. And anyway, but it's also quite limiting because the settings back here, it doesn't really allow you to do a lot. But anyway, enough with the gear, let's get into the video. So for today's prop, we'll be using kiwis, and I just think it's a great way to just get, some of the colors to actually pop up in the images. And yeah, that's why I'm using kiwi. It's also pretty nice to cut. It doesn't really leave a lot of mess around after cutting, unless if this one happens to have a lot of juice. So yeah. And slices wise, I don't tend to use the top and the bottom slices because, well, they don't really leave a lot of light to come out. But I try to cut them kind of thin, but not too thin that the color looks completely transparent. Just about this thin right here, if you can see in the video. Yeah, so just kind of around 4mm, I guess, around that. And yeah, no more than 4mm, because you still want the thickness of the kiwis, but also you don't want it to be too thick that the light no longer can pass through. And I'll be using about 2 to 3 kiwis in total. But of course you don't need to stick with like 4mm. I'm actually cutting between 3, 4, and 5mm because, again, like my external flash will not be able to control, well, I don't have full control of my external flash, so yeah, I'm just experimenting as well with different thickness. Because usually when I do this, it's around 4mm that I cut, but then I also would use a flash that I have control over. So this is also something very new to me, and let's hope that it actually works. So now onto the setup part. Usually I would have like a normal glass table to shoot this, but since I moved to this place, I actually don't have enough room to just, put like a proper dining table that's made out of glass here. So I'm just gonna be using this IKEA plastic table that I used to, well, sometimes sit and eat over here, because this living room area space here is just kind of like the Asian way, where it's just like a huge carpet on the floor or a huge mat on the floor, and then you just sit and there's a little table, and in winter you also have like a warm blanket over and things like that. But anyway, for this particular shoot or setup, I'll be using this table. And since I don't have a glass table, I'm gonna use this as a stand for a transparent sheet. This is plastic. It has a lot of dust already, oh my god. But I'm actually gonna wipe that a little bit. Be very careful when you wipe these things, because you don't want any scratches to interfere with the light that you're shooting through. Yeah, that should be good enough for now. And I'm just gonna start placing the kiwis. And of course you want to be paying attention to the minute details of the seeds inside, that it doesn't look too out of place, because sometimes when you cut, the seeds can look a little bit out of place as well. So just keep an eye for that, and be careful that you're not leaving too much gap between the kiwis, because in the same time, just because your eye sees like, oh, it's just a normal gap, but in camera it actually sees like a huge gap, so just keep an eye for that. And yeah, so yeah, this is pretty much my layout. It's not perfect, but I think it'll do for this trick. And of course, just like with some food photography or some product shots, don't be afraid to use your napkins or tissues or what have you to just kind of like absorb out some of the unwanted liquid, things like that. So yeah, let's see what we can get from this. I don't know if you can hear that, but this flash gets really loud, and yeah, there's that. I'll be placing it down here and I'll be controlling it with my hand. Now, of course, I need to turn on the transmitter and the receiver, but what I was saying is, okay, that seems promising, wait. Okay, cool. But yeah, what I was saying is, because I don't have a lot of control with the flash, in fact, it's only in ETTL mode, it's going to be very tricky, so I'll be controlling the exposure and everything just through the camera's manual mode. So it will take a little bit of time as well. Okay, that's way too dark. That is way too dark. Let me lower my shutter speed and see. So after a while of experimenting, I decided to actually use this piece of paper. It's a normal printing plain A4 paper, and I have to confess that another thing I changed is the flash itself. The other flash decided to stop working, so I traded it out for another flash that you can also get for free, kind of like if you're searching for secondhand cameras, things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm using it as well. So it is still budget photography, and yeah, just for the sake that I would also have a flash, you know, to shoot this. Otherwise, this video would not exist. And for the camera setting, I'm actually keeping it at aperture of f7.1, the shutter speed of 100th of a second, ISO at 125. And yeah, the reason why I'm using such high aperture is because I want everything to be in focus, because this is kind of like a close detail slash semi-macro shot. So something just flew into my mouth. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, so I'm just gonna keep experimenting, because the only thing I find challenging with this shot now is to properly frame it, and also the white balance on here seems to be very off. It's much warmer than I want it to be. So I have to somehow change the white balance on here. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. Yeah, so after experimenting for quite a while now, and also I think evidently the flash died, I think I can't really experiment too much with the white balance anymore. It's just a little bit too warm than I like. So I think what I'll do is just putting it into Lightroom and just making it a little bit cooler so it's not as warm as the final results here on this camera. So yeah, I'll show you the final image now. So yeah, that's it for this particular budget photography video. The funny thing is I ended up using a test image as my final image overall for this particular shoot, and yes, it was taken with this 420EX flash rather than the 430EX flash, so it's still kind of, you know, back to the original setup. Of course, I can always use the excuse of had I had better light, I would probably, you know, have a more evenly spread out lighting and also better diffused light as well. And of course, using the plastic sheet wasn't really as ideal as using a proper glass. And I was trying to avoid the two stone brick column on the side as well, so I was limited by the framing, by the lighting, things like that. That being said, the photo did actually turn out better than I thought, and I think like for the time being, I did kind of try my best to get the right image that I was having in my head. Not exactly the same, but kind of close enough, and I hope you can actually learn something from this video as well. So yeah, even with the €50 budget, you still can get kind of, you know, this kind of images results as well. Just be more creative with the lighting and everything. And yeah, let me know what you think. If you have any questions, any suggestions, any recommendations, feel free to actually comment down in the comment section below. If you need a free photography guidebook, it's absolutely for free for beginners. It's on my website. The link is also down in the description section below as well, as I'm slowly getting my tongue twisted because it's really late at night, and it's also quite exciting because it's the first snow of this year in my city, where I'm living in right now, of course. And yeah, otherwise, oh, my online photography courses are also out. Feel free to check that out as well. And some of the free online courses will be out by early next year as well, hopefully no later than end of February. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you can actually gain something from this video, if not a lot then a little. Yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, have fun shooting. Till next time, bye for now.